dude, what's up? Evan from Stock Music Musician, and today I want to show you how to make trap hats in Reason. Obviously now in 2020, these types of hi-hats that shift time signatures are everywhere. It's not just in trap music, but I think the techniques I'm going to show you sort of borrow from that style, and I'm going to show you a few different ways you can program it into Reason. I think this is probably, I'm going to show you my most favorite way, and then I'll show you a few others as well. If you're new to Reason, or if you're just sort of want some help with it, I've got a free Reason cheat sheet that's going to give you a quick summary of all the devices so you can quickly pick the right one for what you're doing. There's a link to that down below. Go get it so you can start making better music in Reason now. But first, the intro. Okay, so we're going to learn how to make trap hats in Reason. So the first thing you want to do, well, you don't need to do this, but I've programmed just a regular sort of simple drum beat with Kong and the drum sequencer. It is nothing fancy, but it's just to give us something so we can focus on the hi-hats. Nothing too crazy. And for I guess for the ease of listening, I'm just going to turn the pitch of this drum up a little bit. So if you're listening on small speakers, you can hear the kick. Doesn't need to sound good. It's just here as an example. So I don't recommend programming the hats in Kong or redrum because you're not going to have nearly as much control over the rhythms, generally speaking. Instead, what I like to do if you're going to make a trap hat is actually create a totally separate instrument for your hi-hats. And I recommend the NN19 because it's lightweight, it's simple, and it'll do exactly what you need it to do. So double or right click on it to reset the device. This basically removes all the settings from it. Now we're going to load a sample in. You click on this folder here. Let's go over to the drum supply section, hi-hats, and let's just pick a 808. Sound the same to me. All right, so I've now dropped it into the sampler. It's auto-mapped it so that every key I play on, I've got a keyboard down here, it's a different pitch. Right now, though, the polyphony is 6, so I could actually play a hi-hat chord. But instead, I want to drop that down to 1, so there's only ever one hi-hat playing. And you want to make sure that it's set to re-trigger so that every time you hit it, a new note hits. So now, just if we play along, I could manually just play the hats. But that's not what we're looking to do. So this is the best way, I think, to do trap hats in Reason. We will also look at a few other ways to do it, but I think this is going to give you the best results and the most control. So you would think that you could maybe just use like a matrix pattern sequencer. But unfortunately, on that, you can't automatically adjust the tempo. So instead, you want to use an arpeggiate, the arpeggiator, and hold it down. It's set to 16th notes here. This is the velocity, and this is the note length. If I hold down a chord, what we're going to get is, or we can choose a few different patterns. So that's part of it, but then right here you've got the rate control and the ability to edit the automation of the rate. So what we'll do is we'll just lay down a quick little loop here of the hi-hat, and I'm not going to automate anything, but I'm going to play a few different notes just to get that sort of sound. Let's turn on the pre-chord. All right, so already that's not terrible. But what we want to do now is throw in the automation. And so what we'll do is we'll try and just do it manually, and then we'll clean it up. So also, if you have like this map to a knob on your keyboard, which you can really do just by right-clicking and do edit remote override mapping, but we're just going to do edit automation here. Actually, and we don't have any automation, so we could either draw it in manually, but let's clear that, and instead let's start and hit record, and we'll manually adjust this with the mouse. Okay, and now let's just clean that up. If we double click on it, you'll see all the moves here. And if we just zoom in a little bit, unfortunately it's not super clear just on the lines, but if we go back, and we probably want these changes to be like right here. And we could also just go and hit quantize, right? I believe. No. Oh. No, I guess you can't quantize it. Okay, so just drag these to be a little more on beat. We want it to be absolute. That's a different tool. So instead of being relative, it's going to happen actually on the beat. So now let's listen to what that cleanup sounds like. And so, you can dial that in a lot more to taste. But that's the basics of how you can program trap hats with the RPG8 and the NN19. And I recommend we stay with the NN19 for all of them, because this is just gives you so much more control to have your own standalone hi-hat when they become the feature. It also lets you do things like auto pan and craziness like that. Okay, so the next method we're going to do is to use a player. Unfortunately, the drum sequencer doesn't let you do this type of work, but you've got a few things that will work for you. Note echo can be kind of useful, but it's just a little too glitchy to control. We can do a tempo sync thing where it goes. But it doesn't really get you where you need to go. So what I recommend doing is either, if you're going to use the player route, go with something like this one, Euclidean Rhythms, which I've purchased, unfortunately. It's not free, but it's a great plugin for just all sorts of things. Similar, you just right-click to automate. This gives you a little more control of the pattern itself. And some shuffle. Then you can also, just for giggles, get some pretty interesting results with the Beatmap sequencer. You can automate the rate here. One thing I'll note is these are all several octaves down, so they sound really low. So you can just increase the octaves of the pitch of everything here to counterbalance it. So it's unpredictable, but it gets you some really cool hat stuff really easily. And it kind of plays with both the melody and everything else. and you just can edit the automation. Again, it's the same technique to edit the automation trap hats in Reason. I really hope you found this helpful. Be sure to download that guide to all the Reason resources and how to use them, and let me know what you thought. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.